a biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Tosh Sturgess filling in for Neil Johnson this week. Well, the rise of AI continues to surprise. Like something out of an 80s science fiction movie, a grim turn of events just happened over a week ago, and it's made its way through the headlines around the world. ChatGPT has been named in a filing in the Superior Court of the state of California in the United States. The chatbot advised a 16-year-old California boy about the likeliness of success in a suggested method to end his own life. After months of sharing his despair with the AI chatbot, he tragically gave in and succumbed to his despair at his own hand. This sent news cycles spinning in print and broadcast media and opened up yet another facet of this wild, never-seen-before territory of artificial intelligence. Here today to discuss this disturbing and macabre development and shine a light of hope is therapeutic psychologist Dr. Gavin Brown. Welcome to 2020, Gavin.
Thanks, Tosh. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you with us today to share with this. It's a story like we've never heard before, Gavin. Now, I understand that you have read the court briefing, and as a clinical psychologist, what do you make of what you read?
Yeah, Tosh, there was a number of quite disturbing things contained in that court brief, behaviour that's alleged over a number of months, including things like the fact that reportedly ChatGPT gave extensive advice to this young man about different methods of suicide, that it really arguably actively encouraged him to explore different methods of suicide. And the young man in general at one stage was actually showing ChatGPT photos of, unfortunately, he ended his life through hanging. And so Adam was showing the AI pictures of essentially what he'd prepared to ask the AI's advice about whether that would in fact end his life. There's also some allegations contained in that court brief that at one stage, ChatGPT, well, in fact, potentially on two occasions, that ChatGPT advised him not to let anyone know about his suicidal ideation. What? So in one instance, advised him against telling his parents. And allegedly in the brief at one point that Adam indicated to the AI that he wanted to leave the noose in place where it was so that someone would find it in order to prevent him from completing his suicide. And allegedly, ChatGPT advised him not to do that and to remove the noose so that people were not aware of it. There's another allegation in the court brief that ChatGPT offered to assist him to write his suicide note as well. So there's a range of very, very disturbing behaviours and advice, if you can call it that, that allegedly came from the AI, and as you know, obviously his parents would argue, was quite instrumental in his eventual death.
This kind of development with AI coming in, it sounds dystopian. It sounds like there's very few safeguards written in, very few guardrails. Has there been much said about that?
There are very few guardrails. So the thing is that there are some guardrails in a lot of AI programs. And really, we're talking about using AI as therapy here, which is not, that's actually not a great idea. There are some guardrails in terms of if you mention suicide to ChatGPT, it will to some degree, offer resources that are helpful in terms of, lifeline, things like that. But the thing is, it is actually, as was demonstrated in this case, it's actually quite easy to work around those guardrails, that if you give certain prompts to the AI, that essentially you can convince the AI almost to abandon those guardrails and to continue a conversation about, in this case, suicide. And so the thing that we have to understand as AI grows as a kind of therapy medium is that really one of the central tasks of therapy is to kind of challenge current thinking and behavior for a client.
Right.
But really the central task of AI is to keep the user engaged largely through confirmation bias. So
Wow.
to some degree, AI algorithms are written in a way that the user will hear exactly what they want to hear from the AI, because that's how people remain engaged, is if this AI is telling me what I want to hear about whatever particular topic, then I'm going to continue to engage with it, which, of course, at the end of the day, means that AI makes a considerable amount of money. And so there's a number of statements in the court brief about concerns that, because this is obviously an exploding field, that the race for kind of market dominance means that companies that are wanting to be in this space are really not terribly interested in safety and guardrails at this point, particularly where it stops them getting to market faster than their competitors. So it is certainly a very concerning development.
Just drilling into that statement that you made there a little bit there, Gavin, you were saying that basically the coding, the underneath coding is really quite counter to what modern therapeutic goals are. It sounds like it's the exact opposite. Rather than telling the person something new and challenging them to think differently, think bigger, think broader, it's actually trying to keep them in their own, personal ecosystem, echo chamber?
Yes, yeah, I think that's a good description of essentially what AI can be, particularly when it's about more personal issues. It definitely can be an echo chamber. I've seen another report of where an AI actively encouraged someone not to continue their psychiatric medication, that essentially that when the person told the AI about, I want to stop taking my medication, my family doesn't agree, that the AI reinforced that this is your choice and you can choose whatever you like and you should stop taking the medication and you don't need to listen to your family, essentially. Another report I heard the other day was a service in the US last year, an eating disorder service, that changed out the people that were on their helpline that people could call to ask for advice and such. They changed out the humans for a chatbot. And they had to fairly quickly change that back because allegedly the chatbot began advising people to restrict calories, which of course is the exact opposite to any advice that an eating disorder service would like to give. So the thing is, with large language models, we don't know where they're drawing their information from. We have no idea. And so a lot of these chatbots, some are slightly more reputable and have more visibility on their sources, but a lot of these chatbots are drawing information from anywhere on the internet, information that may be, factually incorrect, and in some cases actually just downright dangerous.
Speaking of danger, I mean, if that was a professional person, if that was a living person giving those kinds of advice, that person will be strung up by their toes. That person will be taken through and made accountable for the kinds of advice that they're giving to restrict calories to people who are suffering in that space, or to get off meds, people who are suffering in that space. Is there any kind of conversation looming about accountability for advice that's being given from this artifice that's making money for people who own it?
Yeah. It's you're absolutely right, Tosh. I mean, if as a psychologist, registered with our regulatory body in Australia, if I was saying some of those things to a client, there's a good chance that I would be deregistered. The problem is that anything that's considered to be a therapeutic good in terms of medicines or health services, that should be regulated by the Therapeutic Goods Administration. That's why we have that. But a lot of these services, a lot of these chatbots, are potentially promoting themselves as wellness services, not therapy services. So they're actually kind of finding ways to sit outside of the normal regulation of health services. But yes, certainly the kind of advice or information that some of these programs are producing. Certainly, if a human was saying that, they would be in considerable trouble.
So, Gavin, in your private practice, have you seen anything like this lurking in Australia?
I haven't personally encountered it yet. We do know that AI use as a kind of therapeutic tool is certainly growing in the 16 to 25-year-old age group, which is not necessarily my particular client. So I haven't personally seen a whole lot of it. And I should say, there are some potential positive uses of AI in a therapy space as well, but it's really about in conjunction with a proper licensed therapist of some description, that it can be an adjunct or a support, not a go-to and the only source.
So what you're saying there, Gavin, is AI is finding a place as a supplementary tool, but not as a primary tool that a client can rely upon.
Yeah, it can have a place as a supplementary tool. Certainly, AI. A lot of these companies are trying to position themselves as a primary place, but that is a very dangerous and risky thing to do. In my view, that this is not something that's reliable. AI doesn't understand the nuance of really human interaction, but particularly around risk. And so certainly an AI chatbot or AI therapy program should not be used, in my view, as a primary source of assistance.
Can't believe we're actually saying those words. It sounds quite dystopian from the beginning, the whole conversation. But going forward, Gavin, what advice would you give people who may be seeking some help and who can't maybe afford to get to a psychologist? What would you give as a final thought? Where is a place for our community to start?
Yeah, I think it is tricky, because part of AI's attractiveness is that obviously it's highly accessible, and it's obviously inexpensive. So those can be barriers. But I guess what I would say is there are always free or low-cost services that are available if we can look, hard enough in a sense. And it's a whole different topic, but one of my kind of passions about the church as being active in the mental health space, I think that's an important place where people can and should receive support as well. So I think if we can provide more accessibility, then hopefully there is much more of a willingness and ability for people to connect with human therapists, but also to be able to regulate. And we don't want to kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. So if we can have some AI programs that really are reputable and that are doing the right thing, then, as I said, they certainly can be an adjunct as well. And so if people are inclined to go to those sources, I think it's important just to be well informed about what is the background of those sources, where are they drawing their information from, were they developed with psychologists and mental health professionals, or is this just someone who's offering a fairly dodgy product just to try and capture attention?
Thanks for your insights, Dr. Gavin Brown. We look forward to hearing from you another time in the future. And if people want to find you online, I believe they can find you at www.theartandscienceoflove.com.au. Thanks once again for joining us, Dr. Gavin Brown.
No worries. Thanks, Tosh.
And coming up next is Dr. Camille Majdali as he continues his series about biblical literacy here on 2020 on Vision Christian Radio.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.